Good evening, Music Multiverse listeners. This is Beyond Your Radio. Welcome to another episode of What's in Your Ear. Tonight, it's a two joining panelists with me. Got Jeff Young from Florida, and I got Alex Kaluzny from Lockport. We're going to go through the lovely three albums we've been listening to, why we're listening to them, what they mean to us, why they're in our ear. It's impossible to listen to everything this week. I tried. That was while listening to Autumn by Smashing Pumpkins. That 3-disc set. So without further ado, I guess we'll get this show on the road. But I do want to make one point aware, like I do every show, due to copyright and demonetization. Obviously, we're not going to play any of the music. You want to hear the albums? That's the idea. Go listen to them, right? So we're going to start with, and we got a special tonight. Jeffrey Johnson, Chef Jeff, sent his to me about a couple hours ago. He's in California cooking for 200 people. So I can't wait to hear about that, how that goes. So
that's going to be one hell of a meal to music.
Yes. As a matter of fact, he's working on your music bites that you sent him. We'll keep people in suspense on that. But without further ado, Jeffrey Johnson said, I was listening to the following albums. So his first choice, yeah, it's a shocker. Grateful Dead, Terrapin Station. I think everybody's familiar with this record. Obviously, we had a Terrapin Station in Buffalo. They used to sell magazines, comic books, and all Grateful Dead related.
Still there.
Whatever.
It's still there on Hurdle.
It's still there. Jeff, Alex, any comments on this record? I'm sure you guys listen to this all the time.
I've actually never listened to a single Grateful Dead record in my life.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know that.
What about you, Jeff? That's a no, right?
I don't know anything that I haven't just heard on the radio in the grocery store.
Right.
They play this in the grocery store?
Maybe, I don't know about the grocery store, but I know that they used to play it at Ben and Jerry's ice cream. I had a friend whose father owned the store.
Well, they named an ice cream.
Yeah, so I like the record. It's not my favorite of theirs, but you know. Anyway,
the album gives me what's the artwork with the guy who holds the pitchfork and the wife who's holding the spade?
That would be, well, I don't know the photograph, but the Green Acres is the...
Isn't it called like American something?
American Gothic?
Yes. That album cover gives me American Gothic vibes right off the bat.
Well, just so everybody knows, I mean, I think Jeff would have liked to have said something because he is a turtle lover, and the turtles on the front, Jeffrey Johnson has tattoos on his legs. Again, a deadhead through and through, but we're opening his ears to many things Canadian, eh? All right. Next will be, I believe it's Alex.
Oh, I thought we were rolling off of his 3 right in a row, but all right.
No, I'll do it in sequence.
So I chose for mine what's been kind of tickling my fancy lately has been listening to Hardy's Hicks tapes, volumes 1 and 2. So I had Mark put up the second album cover. It's been my favorite of the two. This is an album that it's different in the sense where country lately can have features. This is an album made entirely off of features. Hardy has produced it for the songs he's not on, even for the ones he is. But he did something unique here that I look forward to, especially as he continues to come out with these, where each song is a collaboration between different artists, not just of the modern era, but even from the past. Bringing in guys. Here as I pull up the album beside me, which I should have been more prepared on. As I pull that up. Yeah, I mean, just going as far as Colt Ford, I know for some of these two, Red Atkins going a little bit further back. One of the things I like that he does on this too He's had for each volume a different guitarist from the rock genre that I really like. So Zach Wild was on the first one, Chris Shiflett of the Foo Fighters on the second one.
Oh, okay.
Those are two little throw-ins there that they feature him by name too. They don't say Chris Shiflett of the Foo Fighters. So for those that maybe are the country genre that are listening to this, don't necessarily recognize that. So I've always liked that about this. But yeah, no, they've thrown in some vintage guys in there, some 90s guys, and thrown in some modern guys, and there'll be 3 to a track sometimes. But yeah, I thought it's been a really cool collaboration that I'm excited for when Volume 3 does eventually come out, because this is one of those albums for me I can play front to back. I really enjoy every single song on it. So it's more of a feel-good record. It's nothing that's, too heartfelt. It's pretty light. It's pretty fun with its country analogies too, but it's pretty good setup for just when you're in a good mood, you want to throw something on with the windows down. It's always been reliable for me there.
Mr. Young, you're gonna take us somewhere.
Go with Worship Music, the album, the 10th album from Anthrax. And it's 2011. It's the first album they had since their previous album in 2003. And it's the return of the original singer, Joey Belladonna. For years, they had a different singer. He left the band. But as an Anthrax fan, it was everything you would hope it would be if you were an Anthrax fan. Like, that doesn't often happen with bands that are in that same situation. But it might even be one of their best albums. It's just so good.
I know it's the one that I started and listening to more so. You know what I mean? That's
it's funny. I think they are a perfect example of a band whose name really got in their way. Like, even for me, even younger, like, I would listen to all kinds of heavy metal bands, but I'm like, Anthrax, what a dumb name. It's like the people I knew in high school who like Anthrax, I thought they were dweebs. And it's like, finally you start listening to them, a little bit later, and I was going like, wow, no, these actually guys are really good. And it's like, you don't think of their name much, you just like listen to music. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, just
and you think of like the scare in the early 2000s probably didn't help it either.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah. When you think of like the big four of Slayer, Metallica, Megadeth, Anthrax, the one that has the best name is actually most successful. Now that's aside from the fact they're probably the best band of the four anyway, but still, it's like, I mean, they all were successful. They're all millionaires, but it's just, I don't know. I think it's just a perfect example of a band whose name kind of got in the way.
It's basically thrash metal. Is that fair to say?
I mean, they put it out that way. I mean, they've done a lot of collaborations too. They have a song with they do like a rap song that's got some Sam Kinison in it. They do one with Public Enemy.
On this album?
No, but I'm just saying as far as what kind of.
I'm just saying, did this go back to the traditional, like when this?
No, if you think of like Persistence of Time, that's more of a rock album. I mean, that was like, probably late 90s. But State of Euphoria, kind of reminds you a little bit about maybe a little bit of Faith No More in the sense that they have the way they sing is a little bit different than anybody else,
Okay. I'm trying to, well, they're down there, but I think the last one was something about the Kings, right? All the Kings.
Yeah, I didn't write down the songs, but it's got a lot of
just the new. Go ahead.
I mean, it's got a lot of tracks on it, even a couple of small instrumentals, which is nice too, because a lot of albums now it's just like, oh, we're gonna put out 7 songs, 7 tracks.
Yeah, all of them are 19 minutes.
12, 13,
All right. Cool album cover too.
Yes, I'll give it that.
They usually put some thought into theirs. Okay, so what have I been listening to, right? So the wife of Jack White, Olivia Jean. If it's Jean, it could be Olivia Jean. I really didn't check the pronunciation. Has always had side projects like the Black Bells, but I never seem to get around to listening to them. Or I get interrupted, or I don't know, just wasn't connecting with me. But this is not the case with this solo record that just came out. This is great, fun. You're rocking no matter whether it's a pop psychedelia sound or it's reaching a little bit back more to the Hammond B organ. It's got funk. It's got everything on. Ditch is my favorite song. But when it comes to the title lead off track, you realize the talent, the production, and the reason for the likability. But then there's this song that comes right after it that kind of has that, it slips away from the production a bit. I don't know whether that was, she has 2 prior records, Night Owl and the one I love the title of, Bathtub Love Killings. Yeah, there you go. There's a title for a record, right? Sounds like an episode of Law and Order, Special Victims Unit. So that kind of threw me a bit, but then it goes right back to that sonic throwback production, which they do again in Trouble, which is much better than that. It's a White Stripes, a little lighter than the Kills, and even a little Baruch Assault thrown in. Precise in its 37 minutes. It goes, it gets over, it gets done. It sways heavier into more gothic delivery at the end, which I really enjoyed. I think it's one of the better records this year that I've put in my ear. It really wasn't on my radar until I saw a few people talking about it. And so that's my number one for this. And we'll move on back to what Mr. Johnson sent us. And obviously another throwback, the Allman Brothers Band, Brothers and Sisters. He's a big Allman Brothers fan. It's kind of in his wheelhouse. A lot of cooking went on to that. So it's totally submersive Southern rock. And they did it very well. And obviously with what that band produced in music, they also produced in children that are now in the music. They're like the stalls of from hockey in the music industry. Yeah. Or there's another Sutter maybe, but it's a good choice. It's one of I've listened to that record multiple times. It's a great one. Alex.
Well, it reminds me of the Planters Peanuts favorite band, the Allman Brothers Band. Now my another one's ringing in my ear, the classic Nickelback album from 2003. The Long Road is one that always grabbed me for the songs that weren't just the ones that were the singles on the album. I always thought that it hits the tempo and the speed and the grab right at the beginning of the album with Flat on the Floor. I thought the lyrics to Do This Anymore and Should Have Listened, and those kind of go to where Nickelback's always been a deeper band. They've always been very lyrically thought, which will allude to my third album for today, and why I like both of these is because I think amidst the rock sound and how heavy it gets, you lose track of maybe a message that might be hidden in there just because you're so in tune with the sound and the rhythm of it. So I thought this was one of their better albums going back to then. It really, that's kind of the highlight for me, is you could listen to this and you can get meaning whether you're looking for a certain mood or whether you're really trying to listen deeper and you're still and you're thinking of the music. So I always thought Nickelback nailed it with their slower songs, especially in this era. Their ballads were able to be not generic. I thought that everything brought something different, and this is where that album excelled for me. So yeah, front to back, this was a really good one. And I know on the special edition has one of my favorite covers. I know, Mark, you disagree on this one, but I like their Elton John cover of Saturday Night's All Right. So that one's one that I've always loved. So these guys actually do nail a pretty good cover every now and then too. So yeah.
That I'll agree with this. That one I just wasn't as smitten with. But Jeff, what do you think of the cover?
I don't know.
It's all right. So I'm gonna just go
it
into this
looks
really
a little
quick.
dark on that TV from back there too.
Well, no, I'm talking about the cover of the song.
Oh, the covers. I'm talking about
I don't remember it really.
I gotta be. Yeah. So I want to cover this really quick because this is one of the things that irks me in all of music, is that this band gets shit on constantly, and I don't understand why. I think
Yes.
anybody that has a hatred for this band probably loves Kiss. Shut up, okay? Because between the two of them, same, okay? Actually, he's got a better voice. He writes better songs. They're more into it. It's not a show like we're gonna do this show and it would be called Brand or Band. This is a band. Kiss is a brand. Okay, they don't even play their music when they're on live stage. I've seen Nickelback live. I prefer them in a smaller venue with a little bit more attention to detail, stuff like that. But I'll tell you, no, they haven't produced a great record in a long time. But that's a lot of bands that are under scrutiny and do the things that they do, or are signed by major record labels. Okay, well, I don't know what freedoms they have, but they got to write a song that gets played on radio. Maybe that's the problem where people make that statement. But if you tell me that you hate Nickelback and you love Kiss, you have no right to make that statement whatsoever. You just don't. It's aggravating to me. I don't care what anybody else says. It's the truth. It makes me angry to know of it. Be like me telling you Elvis Presley sucks, and then saying I like, another crooner, like it's ridiculous.
I think what's amazing to me when I look at that band, I think the first time I've ever really made a musical argument was centered around Nickelback. And it was centered around, I think it was the All the Right Reasons album.
Great album.
That's
their best album.
And I said in that album that I think there was 11 tracks, and I've easily heard 8 of them on the radio. And I think my part of my argument there was, how quality of an album do you have to make that you get that majority that are getting that much play?
Well, you want to know how good a band is
beyond your
when
radio,
record producers go after them to produce their records.
In the next town they're playing, and they're opening for Kiss.
See, now don't get me wrong. I know who the bigger band is. I'm not saying I don't. I do I like Kiss? No. Do I have any Kiss albums? Nope. Do I go around saying do I go around saying they suck? No. I understand the place. I understand the time. I understand what it meant. But Detroit Rock City, yeah, doesn't mean a thing to me. All right. But I do understand what it meant to people of that era. I went back. I've listened to it. The quality of production sometimes was really not good. And I don't know. Have any of you ever listened to any of the new live bootleg things?
I have not.
I'm sure that I gotta go like on YouTube and see.
I avoid Kiss these days.
Yeah, but listen. Nickelback has not made a very good record in a long time.
I'd agree with that.
All the Right Reasons.
I keep finding myself going backward.
All the Right Reasons. Ridiculous album. I mean, the next contestant. Come on, it's a crusher, right? He's gonna beat up every guy in the place for looking at his girlfriend. Been there, done that, felt that, right? Well, wait a minute, maybe not. Anyway.
I always find myself in Nickelback, I'm going backwards. It's going back into the catalog, and then just you find all these good little gems of things that you don't hear often. So yeah.
Do I agree that Avril Lavigne should have been singing in the band? No. But we do strange things when we love, right? Jeff?
I'm going with Queensryche album from 1990, Empire. And the reason I kind of got onto that was the last time we were online together, somehow we got talking and I looked up the Guitar Center's session of Game of Thrones, where lots of guitarists were putting together that, the person who actually made the tune, and then a couple others, everybody from Brad Paisley to, the guy from Extreme and guy from Anthrax, it's just really
awesome. My ear.
And so anyway, because it was, I think of the Game of Thrones theme being very, instrumental or like an orchestra. I kind of was thinking of like Silent Lucidity. So I was listening to that and kind of sort of just went to Empire. What's funny, I didn't remember this, but then I kind of saw it online. Is that with Silent Lucidity, that song was written by the lead guitarist Chris DeGarmo, but all the orchestral parts in the background and featured in it is done by Michael Kamen, who did scores for music
Okay.
for movies.
Hmm.
I mean, and he passed away maybe 4 years later after that album, but he had done like, lots of movies like Lethal Weapon and a bunch of others. I can't think of them, but
Oh, Michael came and did Robin Hood.
yes,
With, Brian Adams, Everything I Do It For You. I'll
Yep.
retract my Melier. I went to Extreme, not Empire Extreme, Queensryche. My mistake. Who was the guitarist for Queensryche?
Chris DeGarmo.
Chris DeGarmo. Okay.
So yeah, that was one. And
Is DeGarmo? He's got that other section. He didn't go with.
I don't know where he is now, if he's with Queensryche or not, but they're actually playing here a little while.
It's a hell of a guitar. Still a guitar. I mean, must be really. I mean, they were great. Still are, depending on which faction.
Empire is so different than the previous album.
Yeah.
Just so different, but it's just really good too.
Greatest departure from album to album, almost. I can think of a couple more. Radiohead going from their first record to the Bends. That was wickedly different,
Or even
Right.
the one,
Say again?
even the one after that.
Yeah. The greatest two departures, right? So I wanted something live, and somebody I hadn't gone back to in a while. So anybody who doesn't know Jeff Healey was a blind guitarist, Canada, blues guitarist, got his start basically doing some blues covers and some of the original material for the movie Roadhouse with Patrick Swayze. Kind of got him his foray into what he was doing. So he's an interesting artist because he plays the guitar, because he's blind, sitting on his lap and in a slide motif. Although obviously a hell of a blues guitarist. If you don't know who he is, See the Light or Hell to Pay. The first couple records are amazing blues records, hard electric blues, but he can do a ballad. So what I decided to do here was, I just realized one of the greatest venues to see a show in all of Canada, that's not an amphitheater, that's not something, magical, and is the Horseshoe Tavern. And the Horseshoe is known for a lot of performances, and they had this one from 1993. Now, I didn't know this existed, but when I found this gem, it had all that and a bag of blues, and steered away from the jazz stuff that he kind of took over the last part of his life before he went back to the blues. That was great, don't get me wrong, but the passion and wheelhouse, or Roadhouse, if you will, is where it all started, made him a legend. This has the band as tight as ever. I don't know if it's the original members or whatnot. It's 93, so it's got to be pretty close. But so obviously someone who doesn't have sight has maybe a fixation on songs with eyes in them. So he obviously had his own song, Angel Eyes, but he decided to do a cover of Lost in Your Eyes on this particular performance, and that's by nobody. Debbie Gibson.
Well, I know another cover he did with About Eyes.
Yep. What?
While My Guitar Gently Weeps.
Yep. So he did. He closes with BB King's "The Thrill Is Gone," and just nails it. Now there are other live performances. I chose this one. It's a little bit shorter, brief in its position of time, but it covers a lot of the great stuff. So it's the Jeff Healey Band, and if you look up Jeff Healey, I'd recommend See the Light, Hell to Pay. He has a covers record, and then there are some things where he gets into jazz. So he actually plays the horn.
This is one that I forgot about. I grew up listening to him, and I completely forgot about bringing him back in. So I
saw him live at the Trowels. What were you going to say, Jeff?
I don't think I've ever seen him.
No,
I think he might have been at the same show as my dad then, because I'm pretty sure that's where he saw him.
Yeah. Yeah, he didn't come around here too often.
What a great place too. See him.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I mean, when he plays Confidence Man, you're all in. You're all in. So I'll move back to Mr. Johnson, who came up with the Bills. No, not the Buffalo Bills Mafia Nation. With Let 'Em Run. Jeff has talked about this band before. This is basically, we'll call it a bluegrass band, and he's seen them multiple times live. He's it's one of his favorite bands of all time. So he goes back to that quite a bit. Now I know since being on the show, he's listened to Capricorn's Constant, The Murder Wall many times, and Sue's The Philosopher Kings. So it was good for him to get back to his comfort zone, I guess. So back to you, Alex.
So I got a chance to finally listen to something new that I was anticipating that did take a little kick in the ass from the radio. But I was not disappointed hearing the rest of this album. So Godsmack's new one, Lighting Up the Sky. So a little background of what I heard was that the band was looking to stop making new music after this album and just go to playing live. One of the bands that has such a deep catalog that can never get to everything on time, let alone in one show. And so I know for them, it's understandable where they draw a line, but man, if this is the last thing they're putting out for a good hiatus of time while they just worry about performing, they absolutely went out on a high note for a while, leaving us with this. So right from the start, a 5-minute track from You and I, and it honestly, it kind of got to a point where I think midway through the song, I'm just like, man, they're really riding this out. Normally it's just hit you with something quick and then go into everything. And they go with that. Was surprised to see them go a little bit more with what I know when they play it live is going to be more, pandering to their audience with Red, White, and Blue. But, I think songs going through the list here. I mean, even Hell's Not Dead in the middle of the album, the way they slow it down here with Truth. And it almost feels like towards the end when you get to Growing Old and Best of Times, it's almost like them foreshadowing to closing the book on writing new music for them and almost talking about how good of a career it's been with each other and some of the things they've learned along the way. So it was interesting to see them going that way towards the end of it. And then just putting the exclamation point on it with the title track at the very end, they really kind of closed it home with just one more good, solid rock song. The guitar stands out throughout this album. Sully's voice is it's unique. And I said this back to when I was talking about the Nickelback album. With a rock album, you really, when you listen to certain lyrics, they grab you. And this is one of those albums I thought did that. And then you add in, again, like I was saying with Sully's voice, he's able to sing those moans and those hms and really add something to his voice that's outside of lyrics, just very melodic and very, you catch the undertones of that a lot. So yeah, I loved this album. I thought they absolutely killed it for being the last one for a while, if this is that. And yeah, this one's going to be a good one for the year. I got to give this a lot more play than the first two I have.
The first time that I heard Godsmack, I didn't know it was Godsmack, and I had actually not really heard any Godsmack, but I think it must have been on the radio or something. I was like, my ears perked up, and I was like, oh my God, is this like new Metallica or something? I didn't even know what it was. It was like, just because his voice is so, strong,
It's like the first time you heard Our Lady Peace.
And
that's a unique voice.
And I'm lucky to say that I have gotten to see these guys live as part of Crew Fest 2, I believe it was, when I was at Darien Lake. And seeing Sully and his drummer, a second drum just emerges from the bottom of the stage and goes equal to their one standing there. And seeing Sully and their current drummer just bashing it out with each other and battling up there for it felt like a half hour.
I saw them.
When did you see him?
and Lackawanna at the Funhouse. Like they're just
At the Funhouse. Okay.
But do they have any instrumentals on this album?
Yes.
Instrumental. Everything is lyrics for sure are in there, but yeah.
I mean, during the middle of there's elongated songs that have.
Yes.
I mean, that's like,
So yeah.
If that's the case, yes.
Yeah. So the ballad, this is what I wrote after my review. The ballads and some continuing lyrical prowess save this record from being so in line commercialized hard rock. He's a great lyricist in some cases, some cliche, but it's usually worked so well with his delivery and vocal. But the vocal is starting to sound easy in some places, almost contemporary for tempo, but I still like it. Melodically intense, the intensification is still there, but the early stuff still has a bite that you feel much stronger. However, the ballad is well executed and could be a radio hit. He's not writing for radio. He doesn't care. You know what I mean?
Right.
He's writing because they have a record contract. And that's why they don't want to do this anymore. They're going to make more money on the road. They don't make money selling records, and they don't make money because of radio play. They make money because of their catalog, right?
that's
He's
everybody.
right. He's absolutely right. So some people make records because they love to write music, and some of it's a struggle, right?
I honestly
Anyway.
gotta say, like, just listening to this, I think you nailed it though. Like they did so much to toe that line of commercial, but they
Mhm.
stayed so true to themselves in this one.
Yeah.
And you can, and it really shows when you listen to it.
If they
And
don't
so,
have his vocal, it's probably gonna fall in line with every other thing you've ever heard. Although there are some pieces where I thought the band, was top notch.
I love the guitar in it, but yeah, like you said, like just even adding his vocal isn't just what he sings, it's all the little stuff he adds with his voice is almost like another instrument. And I
Mhm.
think that's really where that popped out. So yeah, down to Jeff.
Jeff, your last one.
Picking 1996 Mechanical Animals from Marilyn Manson. And again, this album is way, like, just a lot different than the one previous with Antichrist Superstar. And this one has much more, it's got some edge too, but nothing like Antichrist Superstar. It's got more harmony, and this I don't know, it just it's just so different. I was really surprised by it. Like I expected more Antichrist Superstar, more the raunchier EP stuff they had before that, and it just was a really surprising album to me. And I remember listening to it the first time, even in your car work, like picking it up, and I listened to that so much, and I was just thinking about it the other day because I had stumbled across some stuff on YouTube, and I was listening to like some Marilyn Manson, like what's the song? This Is the New Shit, and then a couple of his covers, like Tainted Love, and actually a pretty good video with Jamie Presley. But yeah, anyway, pretty interesting, and I think on this one too, I don't know if it was the Antichrist Superstar or this one, but one of the co-producers was Trent Reznor.
Yeah, Antichrist Superstar. I remember that.
Yeah, one of the guys,
actually,
one of the former producers for Skinny Puppy was on that too. But
yes, so that's what I was looking up because I knew that he was not the producer.
yeah, that was definitely Antichrist Superstar. It wasn't Mechanical Animals, but Mechanical Animals. I remember just first picking up the album. I bought it before I heard any music off of it, and like just such a strange cover. It's just like Marilyn just looks like a freak, right? And you're like, oh,
right.
Okay, I'm getting into this crowd now. Like, what am I doing here?
Right.
It always surprises me how good Marilyn Manson stuff is. That, like you said, like you kind of see it and you see the album covers, you see the image, and there's a little pullback, but then once you hear it, you're like, damn, that's still good though.
He has a very good English delivery of like understanding metaphor, right? And talking about lunchbox, right? Smashing people with his lunchbox, right? Or is he saying he was bullied as a kid, right? And there's all these things going on. I think those albums are always well written. Obviously they're delivered in a fashion to make him seem powerful, but we obviously know the opposite side of that. Probably as a child, he was not in any way, shape, or form powerful. This album was mixed by none other than Tom Lord Alge, which makes sense because production level mixing is high, and a guy by the name of Michael Beinhorn. Now Beinhorn,
Son of a bitch owes me money. Just kidding.
trying to at the time, what was the year of that? That was 1999. When was it?
I think it was 96,
98.
98.
So at that point, before that, he had done like Grave Dancers Union, Soul Asylum, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Mother's Milk, Future Shock by Herbie Hancock. But then right after Mechanical Animal, he did Celebrity Skin from Hole. But he did Social Distortion. He did Osmosis by Ozzy Osbourne. After that, he did the Verve Pipe, Korn's Untouchables. So this is a guy with a pretty good resume and a pretty good ear for things. Love Drug.
I will still say too, from him, The Beautiful People is one of my all-time favorite get pumped up for a game songs. So for Manson, that one takes the cake for me. That's gotta be my
Gods and
all-timer from
Gods
him.
and Government for me. Feel like your God, guns, your government. Hell yeah. Well, not hell yeah, but whatever. I think that's one of the reasons he doesn't. It's the swearing and the over. I'll tell you this though, the disappointing live show.
Really?
Yep. Well, you were with me, Jeff.
Yeah, I remember a little bit of it. I don't remember as much as I'd like to.
Well, it's because it was short. It was over in 45 minutes, and he was the headliner.
No shit.
Oh yeah, the whole show was a disaster. You had Nashville Pussy, Celebrity. Was it Hole? Courtney Love was supposed to play. She bailed.
Huh.
Trying to think who the third person was.
Oh,
But yeah, Manson came on. It had the spectacle of certain things happening, but show was short. Sound quality was okay. I don't know. It just seemed like it was stage delivered, like you're watching a. It was more about the watch than about the sound. And you're a band. It should always be about the music first and foremost, right?
45 minutes as a headliner too. Like I've only had one concert be that way, and it was because there was a dumb curfew at Canal Side. And I mean, granted, they cut Frankie Ballard, the country singer, short, which I don't know what he could have done in more than 45 minutes to pull me in. I thought it really kind of did the job, and you're just kind of like, really? This is a short day.
I think Manson has a new record coming out. Pretty sure. All right, so I guess we're where are we at now? Where to me? Okay, so I was going to do another band, and I had to change things because last night I went upstairs after doing more Beyond Your Radio stuff, and took a click, took a chance. Did Rick Beato get to do that interview? Did he finally put out the interview with Daniel Lanois? And he did. So I got sucked into that. So the album here behind me is Daniel Lanois' Rockets. This is a compilation record. I don't usually listen to compilation records unless it's a band I don't do very much with. I own most of Daniel Lanois' catalog. But the big thing here is this record, Rockets, is actually a self-release. He did this to go at gigs and be on the website to sell himself. It showcases the musicianship of Lanois. Now, if you're not familiar, it's a straightforward singer-songwriter, folk, rock, ballad. He can do country. He's going to do distortion, alternative instrumental, as well as live performances are thrown in on this record, even with Emmylou Harris and Willie Nelson are on this record. There are two, the title track and Space Key lets you know how well he does distortion, how well he knows the guitar, and why he built one for Neil Young with to actually make a record called Lanois. So obviously, too, this has the ultimate singer-songwriter accomplishment for him on his own, called The Maker. Now, The Maker's been covered by hundreds of artists, like the Tea Party, Cowboy Junkies, and Dave Matthews. This is a cool record to start so that you get an earful of everything. Maybe the only thing you don't get is the Brian Eno thing, okay? So Daniel Lanois can do ambient records. He's that talented, okay? This is a gentleman who's probably responsible for some of the greatest production in recording history. That goes from U2, Peter Gabriel, Neil Young, Emmylou Harris, Robbie Robertson, Scott Weiland, Luscious Jackson, Dashboard Confessionals, Bob Dylan. I probably missed somebody in there. You know, there's a lot. Oh, and he's done soundtracks, and not only that, he's done it for video games, Red Dead Redemption. So he's got this huge musical repertoire, but he's a producer mostly, right? That's his jam. He was producing out of his mother's basement back in the early 70s. All of this self-taught until he could get a studio built by his brother in Hamilton, which was about the same time that a young musician from Buffalo came across the border after hearing something about this young kid in his mother's basement producing albums. Do anybody know who that young person was that came over from Buffalo to record with him? Who would be the biggest name that came out of Buffalo ever?
Oof, that's another episode.
Rick James. The Rick James recorded in Daniel Lanois' mother's basement. I implore anyone listening to this, watching this, to go check out Rick Beato's interview with Daniel Lanois. It is a masterpiece of a person who enjoys sound, all kinds of sounds. Daniel Lanois is an important person in music history, and I was kind of jealous that he got to sit across from him and ask all that. But my God, I don't know anything about music compared to Rick Beato, you know. But it was Rick James did some demos in his mother's basement in the 70s because the organ player that I worked with a lot, Eddie Roth, knew Rick, and then said he should make a record there. My mom would be baking eggs for Rick James while we were recording. This was a real turning point for me because Rick played all his own instruments. This is probably something most people don't know. He's a great drummer, bass player, a real multi-instrumentalist. In a matter of 20 minutes, Rick would have his full track pouring out of the speakers, and it really shook me. The recordings were never released, though. I can't remember hearing any of those songs anywhere, ultimately. Anyway, I brought this out because I believe that it's just important to me. It's like the holy grail of moments for me in the last several years. Daniel Lanois is important, even for the Tragically Hip and other Canadians. Anyway, any things you guys want to add?
No, you got to send me that link because I definitely want to watch that.
Yeah, I will see if I can put it in the link. I don't know how YouTube likes if you're linking to other YouTubians, especially ones that, you know, he's got 3 million viewers and probably doesn't care about little old Mark and Beyond Your Radio.
It's funny because you said who'd be the biggest name out of Buffalo that would have recorded there. And my mind went Rick James down that list, but I just went, no, there's no way.
On another show, I'll bring up the biggest person to ever come out of Buffalo. It will stun you. It's a piece of Buffalo history that still lives on to this day. So I want to thank my panelists for participating in tonight's What's in Your Ear. Hopefully it's exposed some new music. I know we talked about some radio play music too, but we're different eras of age and time. We'll do this again in 2 weeks with our panelists. Hopefully Jeffrey Johnson will be back, and I am meeting with another panelist next week who will probably be joining us, who has a completely different background in music, one that's important. So I'm hoping that he joins us. We're on the web at beyondyourradio.com, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course, please like and comment because we do like to read those and shout back at you. More new shows coming and plenty of articles on our website, including Music Bites, album reviews, and Unknown Sundays. We're back next week, Tuesday. I want to say that's going to be, that's your band name. I know what I'm doing. I hope my panelists got theirs ready. Happy listening, everyone.